Hello everybody, welcome to Snyder's Inc. And today we're doing that chapter. I'm not gonna be honest, I didn't fully know if I was gonna react to this one. I wanted to, but there was a couple other ones I wanted to react to, so I didn't actually know. Oh, my stinking sweater needs to learn to stay in his chair. Okay, apologize for that. But here, I wanted to run a couple things by you, and I'm gonna use this video to do it. Okay, so hold on, I'm just gonna make myself a little bigger here, just for this. So, two things I wanted to do. One by first, I'm thinking about doing more live streams on this channel, maybe gaming live streams, and now on my PlayStation and like stuff like that. So you might see me randomly go live playing games. Not gonna lie, just might randomly happen. But even if I don't do that, I'm considering the idea of doing Friday live streams like we did yesterday or last night. If y'all enjoy it, because y'all did enjoy that, so maybe doing more every Friday, doing a live stream has kind of been on my mind. But I'll leave that up to you guys if you guys would like to see me do that every Friday. Well, go shrink this. There you go. But yeah, I'm trying to just kind of branch out and do different things. Because while YouTube only wants... I'm in a dilemma, because YouTube only wants people to do one certain thing, right? They want you to react to certain type of the same thing over and over again. They want you to, if you branch out, they kind of stop caring about you. It's this very annoying thing. I don't want to be a one-way YouTuber. I don't want to be the guy who just reacts. I enjoy doing reaction videos. I love doing them, but it's not all I want to do. So it becomes an issue. I know I'm rambling a lot, but I just want you guys to know the kind of situation, the thought process I'm having here, because YouTube is making me unsure on that. But, ladies and gentlemen, we got that chapter video, and this is The Podcaster Stalked to Death by an Obsessed Fan. Now, I've done another stalking video. I think it was either Mr. Ballin one or that chapter. I did a video involving stalking, and the thing with stalking is, it's been the thing. Someone has to die before a cop will take stalking seriously. They have to wait until it's too late for something to happen, and it's always annoyed me so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna get right into this though. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for watching. I might even say thank you all for watching. I've lost track of where I am. Are you guys ready? I'm almost ready. Let's go.
Hey you, and welcome.
Jesus, I'm bad at even doing my own freaking intros.
My name is Mike, and in this video we're going to talk about a very successful woman. She was a successful podcaster, but she got some extremely unwanted attention from a very crazed fan. This went on for almost a year, until it ended in the most tragic way possible. Before we get into it, if you would like to see new crime videos every week, please subscribe, because this is all about that chapter. Now let's give it a go.
I've always wanted to be a podcaster. I tried doing a wrestling podcast, but that doesn't, like, I kind of wanted to always do a podcast with, like, talking about different topics. But it's hard to do because I'm not good at finding topics to talk about, and it'd just be me talking to myself, since I haven't had anyone who had interest in doing it with me. So, but I've always wanted to do one.
In the early hours of Friday, the 10th of March 2023, a call came in to the...
Oh, this is this year, March 10th, 2023. This is this year. This is what day is it? That's 15 days ago. This is like over 2 weeks ago. What the hell?
Redmond Police Department, and that's Redmond, just outside of Seattle, Washington. Now, this call came from a fairly fancy, wealthy, upscale neighborhood. It's in the same area where the Microsoft headquarters, they're located there. And the house that we will get into, the house was worth $1.2 million. The 911 call that was made to the police, that came in at 1:45 a.m. A woman had ran from that house. She had booked it, running to a neighbor's house to call the police there to let them know that an intruder, a stalker, had broken into the house. That woman told the police that she had heard shots and to get there, like, real quick. Now, the Redmond Police Department, it was only 3 minutes away from the house, so they got there pretty sharpish. When the police arrived, neighbors had begun gathering kind of, on the street, but the house itself, it was dark and it was like eerily quiet. So, with the reports of a shooter in the house, shots had been fired, officers, they gathered up outside the home, they drew their sidearms and they announced their presence to anybody who was inside that house. However, inside that house they would find bodies, as in more than one, and this would be the ending, the tragic and terrible ending to a story that had gone on for almost a year. This wasn't the first time the police had been called to this very address, if you can believe that.
No, I'm not surprised, because if you go to a police officer and say you're being stalked, they feel like they just don't care. It's always annoying. This is the case. It's gonna be this video that's gonna get me ranting on police, because it has annoyed me with the justice system so much how little they take fucking stalking. They don't take it seriously at all. You wonder why people always, when you hand out you're a stalker, sign up, deal with it on their own, and everyone always goes, oh no, let the police. You can't let the police deal with it. They don't care. Police don't care about freaking if you get stalked. They don't care about stalking situation until someone dies. That's all it is. That's straight fact. They don't care until someone dies. It is unfortunate. And it annoys me and all the time.
Someone had been watching it for months, looking through the windows, calling to the door, following the people who lived there as they traveled across America. And finally, this very night, they had gone inside. 33-year-old Zohreh Sadeghi was originally from Iran, as was her husband, 35-year-old Maleed Nazeri. They had been married since 2011, both working in Tehran in software. They were both software developers, rising up the ranks of the companies they worked in Iran until the married couple, they moved to the United States of America. Maleed, he moved to the Seattle, Washington area in 2015, with his wife Zohreh following him a year later as a graduate student. Maleed worked for Google and most recently as lead software engineer for
Damn. That's a lot of experience. That's a hell of a job to have.
Amazon in Redmond, Washington. Zohreh, a PhD student at the University of Washington, Tacoma, and then as a software engineer at a mortgage company. Both were self-styled techies who had moved across the world to be at the very heart of it in the Seattle area. And that house, it was a beautiful place and cost a pretty penny, but software engineers working for the companies that they did, they were successful. So far so good for this young couple, and Zohreh's mother, she would move in with them too into that very house, as we can just presume that she's probably getting on a little bit in years. Now this is when the trouble began. Now this part, it's a little bit vague with all of the news reports that have been released, but Zohreh appeared on a podcast, or on a podcast that was streaming, and the podcast was about gaining employment in the tech industry, in the software industry, and it seems like the podcast was specifically for Persian people, from people from Iran and that sort of thing. Fair enough, right? I mean, she worked in the industry. Her husband was getting pretty big in the industry. She would know everything somebody would need to do. Someone heard her speak about this on this podcast, and they liked what they heard, but not in a normal, healthy way at all. It appears now he may have heard this on the app Clubhouse. Now, Clubhouse is a fairly new app. It's only been up since around 2020. It's one you have to be invited to join, and essentially it's an audio-only thing. You join rooms, and people are talking about different topics and blah, blah, blah. And apparently this podcast, this discussion, was played on Clubhouse. So Zoe was speaking on...
I don't want to sound like because there's a very situation, but I've never heard of a stalker situation start from an audio podcast. Like, because I would have thought, oh, it's an audio, like, she was a regular on the podcast. She was like, and she ran the podcast, and that's why. I didn't know she appeared once, and just the stalker heard her voice once, and just became infatuated with her. That's extreme.
On Clubhouse about this very topic, and who just so happened to tune in, 38-year-old Ramin Koda Haram Raza.
Found the stalker. Tell me he doesn't look like a stalker. Tell me he doesn't look like an obsessed weirdo. Oh my god. Yeah, you look like you're someone that would do something fucking heinous to someone you were infatuated with, you weird bastard.
Die. Ramin was originally, much like Zohre and Malid, from Iran, and he was a trucker who lived in Texas, in the Houston area. He had been married for 7 years to a woman named Nida, and they had a daughter together. His story kind of almost mirrors Zohre and Milad's story. Him and his wife, they married in Iran before moving across to America. Now, they had actually divorced back in 2018, Ramin and his wife, well, ex-wife. But it still seems that they remained close. In fact, one thing we'll find about Ramin is that it seems like he didn't have very many friends at all. His wife would say they would talk all the time, and he would tell her about, romances he had, women he was seeing, and she would say he was telling her this, not as like some kind of evil ex trying to like twist the knife in, but more like he had nobody else to talk to. A lonely guy who, as a trucker, he would go on long, road trips, right? And while he was driving, perhaps he tuned in to the Clubhouse app, listening to people speaking in his native tongue, in Farsi, Persian. And then one time he heard 33-year-old Zohre. And Ramin and Zohre, they sparked up a friendship, yapping away about this and that, talking on Clubhouse. He followed up with her after she had spoken one day. Now, why he even tuned into that discussion? He was a 38-year-old trucker. What interest would he have in getting jobs in the tech industry? Who knows? Maybe he just liked hearing people speak his native tongue. But anyway, regardless, they started speaking away, and she...
This podcast people listen to that doesn't exactly... he might just like listening to podcasts where people speak his native language. I don't think that makes it... Like, that part itself doesn't make it weird. It's what all that happens probably after this that makes it weird.
He is somebody who had a bit of a platform, a bit of an online presence. She was only more than happy to help out, chat. They spoke fairly often, apparently even meeting up one time. Even though she lived all the way in Seattle, he lived in Texas, but he would travel all the time. Way too many times, as you will see. But Ramin, it seemed like he was becoming a bit full-on for Zohre. It seemed like he wanted a little bit more than just a friendship, and then that's when Zohre cut him off. He had fallen for her, and she wasn't, too keen on that at all. And she said, okay, let's stop this right here. Let's put it to bed. This can't end well. How right she was. He then began one of the most obsessive stalking campaigns of Zohre and her husband, Milad, you will ever hear. And so began the messages, the calls, the gifts, the knocking on the door. One time Zohre even had a business trip in Denver, from Seattle to Denver. He followed her. One particular time, he called her over.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm beating you with a bait. You need to get your ass kicked. You need to... See, I will beat my stalker's ass. I will whoop my stalker's ass. If my stalker was a man, oh, I'm whooping your ass. Oh, I am whooping your ass. You are getting your ass whooped. I'll tell you, because I know police don't care, so I'm gonna make sure you stop stalking me. in your ass.
over 100 times in one day. Can you believe that? You know, and I mean, obviously, what's your first thing? You're gonna turn off your phone. You're gonna bounce your phone off a wall. But she works in tech. She can't exactly just do that. So she would block all his numbers. He would still find a way to call her. She would block him on social media. He would still find a way to contact her. She would block.
Yeah, you just make a new one. It's just the guy. You make a new one. You just make a new one to get a hold of the person. It's literally all you do.
All private numbers. He figured it out. How, in fact, he even got her phone number is a mystery. She never gave it to him. Every time they would contact when they were friends, they would talk online. In November 2022, that's when she told him, alright, stop. Stop talking to me. You stop trying to contact me. Verbally, she said it twice. 2 times. Stop. Obviously, he didn't listen. He would call nearby businesses, asking for her. He would manage to get in contact with her, saying that he was in her neighborhood and that he was coming over. He would then go to nearby businesses in her neighborhood, go into them, use their phones to call her. He would call, cry, begging her to meet with him. He would message her saying, delete your Instagram or make it public so I can see too. Another particular time, he was parked in her neighborhood. He was watching her house. He saw her husband. He waited till her husband, Millard, left. He was going to Australia, and as soon as he left the house and was out of the area, he called her door with flowers. He is watching her all the time. He would send things like jewelry. And next...
This is so fucked. What the fuck? How obsessed can you get over someone? She's married. She is married, dude. Get over yourself. What the hell? Why is, like... I can understand the mind of a stalker. I just can't. I don't get it.
Scarf, which, you know, Zara would immediately give to the police and report these incidents to the police, but nothing happened. In one report...
Of course, because they don't care until someone dies. It's just, I will keep repeating every stalker story here. They don't care until someone dies.
She made to the police, she wrote how he threatened to show up into her front yard and light him.
I'm trying to remember the name of it. There was a live stream on Twitch. I don't remember her name. Someone might know who's watching, who had a stalker return, who like traveled from somewhere, left all of his things behind just so he could go to where she lives and stalk her. And like he goes inside her house. He went inside her house recently and all that. And like when she called 911, police were like rude to her and all that. Like just police could... I don't fucking get it. I just don't get it. What is it about? Why do police hate stalking as a crime? Like, why do police, like, oh, someone's trying to burn my place. Well, what the hell do you want us to do? Like, freaking stop calling us about this problem. I don't get it. Stop, fix your fucking out. Like, I don't get it.
Himself and her tree, which they had in the front yard, on fire. He said he would do this to prove that he would love her forever. And he said that nothing short of his own death would stop him from obsessing over her. As you can imagine, this absolutely wreaked havoc on her...
Your death can be arranged.
On her psychology. One time in January, she had to have a back surgery. And she was scared shitless because she knew that if she had surgery, she wouldn't be able to run if something happened. She developed anxiety, insomnia. Her and her husband, Millard, became so fearful that he would one day break in and do God knows what to them. That knocking on the door and calling them just wouldn't cut the mustard anymore. Unfortunately, we found out. On the 2nd of March 2023, a bench warrant was issued for Ramin Kodakaram Rezai's arrest. He was charged with 1 count of misdemeanor stalking and 2 counts of telephone harassment. The very next day, a judge granted a temporary order of protection, with a hearing set for a non-temporary order of protection. So this was at the start of March. Zoe was requesting that this temporary order would last 99 years. She knew, you know, he would never stop. He had serious issues, but this wasn't her goddamn problem like to deal with. That's his problem. Although whatever, you know, mad shit was going on in his head, he was dangerous at this point. I mean, yeah. And for her, what it started off as just trying to help out other people, help out people maybe who were in her situation, give them a leg up. It turned into getting the attention of this guy who turned out to be a full-blown psychopath. Now, one thing about Rahman is he never had any prior arrests or anything, like no history at all. But something in him. So even though this order of protection was granted, there was one problem. The police in Redmond, they couldn't find him. They couldn't make contact with Rahman. Well, for one, he lived out of state. He lived in Texas. And two, as a truck driver, you never know where he is. Then, late on the 9th of March, he crept up this very quiet, leafy, residential street in his red truck. The road, it was on a hill. He glided his red truck up. Nobody spotted him. Nobody saw him. This was a Thursday night. Nobody would have been around to witness anything. How long he waited, how long he was watching that house, no one knows, but he had just been there the day before. What was going through his messed up mind, nobody knows, but at about 1:30 a.m. he got out of his truck and he started walking towards a house he knew, the surroundings very, very well. He'd been stalking it for months, and the day before, as I said, he'd pretty much done a trial run of what he was about to do. And he found that one of the bedroom windows would give him access into the house. It appears he got in, and there he encountered Zohray's mother. They had some kind of altercation, and she managed, though, to flee the house. She managed to book it. She ran out of the house. She ran to a neighbor's house, slamming on the door, and there she managed to call the police. But she would say that as she was running, she had heard shots ring out right behind her.
We have the active hostage situation. The shooter is not detained.
Redmond officers arrived.
I was supposed to actually arrive. They're like, someone broke in the house, the gun and thing. Oh, fuck it, what do you want us to do? Oh, the shots were. Oh, shut up. Okay, well, here's what we want you to. Fuck it, I've heard police do stupid things. Probably they did. Okay, well, I want you to go in there, see if anyone's actually been shot. Then call us back, and then maybe we'll come. Like, police are just terrible at their jobs.
Real soon and drew their weapons with reports of an active shooter who also happened to be an insane person. And it didn't take long for them to find the first person. As they drew out their sidearms, walked towards the house, called out Redmond Police Department. Just at the front door, they found Millett. Now, he was still alive at the time, but he would pass away within minutes. He had been shot once in the chest. He'd been shot and he'd managed to try and run out of the house to escape, but he collapsed just at the door. Police then went through the house, slowly calling out, checking every room, until they eventually got to the master bed.
Why do I feel like I know how this ends? I feel like this ends, right? I haven't watched this, but I feel like this ends where they'll find her body and his
bedroom. And there is where they found Zohray. She'd been shot. She'd been shot dead. And on the ground beside her lay this psycho. He, after shooting Milad and shooting Zohray while she was in bed, he turned the gun on himself. He said,
"Do I know or do I know? Do I know or do I know?" I was like, just watch, they're gonna find her body and his. Because he's one way. He probably had the thought that if he can't have her, no one can. So he took her husband out, took her out, then took himself out. And it breaks my heart because no justice is going to be given to this woman who literally, innocently went on our podcast trying to help people, help her own kind of people learn how to get a job in the world of tech, and this crazy psychopath dude just became obsessed with her for no reason. And it led to this. It's insane.
This would only end with his death. It shouldn't have had to end with hers too, and it probably went out exactly as he hoped that they would go together, which kind of makes this just all the more sickening. She'd done everything right. She'd contacted the police multiple times. In January, in December, filing the order in March. They both did everything right. And still, there was a guy who just couldn't take no for an answer. A guy who had lost his mind and had then done one of the most horrific and disturbing acts of finally being so obsessed with somebody he couldn't stop, and eventually broke in and murdered them.
This is the absolute worst outcome, for a stalking case. A restraining order is simply a piece of paper that allows officers to take enforcement action should a suspect violate the court order, but a piece of paper does not protect a person when someone is intent on causing them harm.
It's a real tragic story of, as I said, people who did everything right, and still, Zore just happened to have a presence one day, a platform to speak and try and help people, and one person just latched onto it.
There needs to be more done on stalking. There has to be more that is done on the crime of stalking, because there's stories upon stories upon stories of just stalking victims end up killed because the stalker just doesn't take no, and police don't do enough to do anything about it, and it's due to that leads to situations like this, which shouldn't happen in the first place.
Like a goddamn tick. And eventually was just sucking the life out of her until he had to end her life and end his own, because he killed her because he was so obsessed with her, but it seems like he also couldn't live without her. Just a real sad, sick piece of shit. 1.5 million of you, by the way. That's the amount of people who have downloaded and listened to the That Chapter podcast, which has blown me away. Thank you so much.
Go download That Chapter podcast. Why the hell not? Ladies and gentlemen, that is it for this reaction video. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Also, let me know what you guys think of doing Friday live streams. Let me know what you thought of that. Also, if anyone can answer the question who the live streamer was I was thinking about, also, that would be helpful. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see y'all for the next one.